It's March 5th. Yep. I'm still living bold. I'm saying Vandy wins 6, and the quarterback situation is finally in a place to help that. Am I crazy? I don't know. Let's find out. Here we go.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All righty. Welcome into the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton. On today's episode, we look at what makes the quarterback situation a positive for Vandy's chances to go bowling. What impact does Diego Pavia have? What impact does Nate Johnson have? What about the future of the position? We'll explore all of that. Plus, when your lineup does really well at the plate, pitchers naturally gain confidence and get in a groove. Why is that? Well, we're going to find out here in a little bit. But thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Nissan. Are you the kind of driver that likes to push things a little further? You ever wonder what adventure could be around the next corner? Well, take Nissan Rogue, Nissan Pathfinder, or Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure. Check them all out today at nissanusa.com. So, a while back now, feels like a while back, I made a claim that Vandy's going to win 6 games, go bowling. I called my shot, said they were going to beat Auburn. Zach Blackerby probably doesn't like that, but that's okay. Maybe him and I can debate it at some point. All right. But in order for Vandy to win these games, in order for me to be right, the offense has to eat. And it starts with the quarterback, obviously, right? So how does this situation help Vandy? And I've said time and time again, they're in a really, really good situation. And I think no matter who they trot out there, like I said before, it's a 2-person race, Diego Pavia and Nate Johnson. But this is really going to help Vandy. No matter who, because I think both of these quarterbacks, no matter who plays, this is not about who is starting at quarterback. This is just about the position in general and how it's going to help and how these two guys kind of fit into just the overall role and what that role looks like now versus what it looked like before. So, again, I'm going to start with Diego Pavia, though, right? So if you plug him in, let's say, hypothetically, Diego Pavia wins quarterback 1. So how does that help Vandy? I'll tell you how it helps Vandy. Because Diego Pavia, and again, it kind of ties in with coaching too. So that's obviously part of this thing in the sport of football. Coaching is that, and coaching does play a bigger role, more so than in any other sport, say for maybe baseball. But I think when you have a really good connection with quarterback and coordinator like Tim Beck and Diego Pavia do, I think that leads to really good production. I think that's going to, elevate the people around them because let's be honest, like on paper, you look at Jeremiah Dillon, you look at Loic Foungy, you look at, Junior Sherrill, and you look at some of these, freshmen, and you look at what left us in the portal at the wide receiver position, and you look at it, it's like, okay, well, talent-wise, we downgraded, right? Like just on paper, talent-wise, like those are 3 really good receivers that left Vanderbilt in London Humphreys, Jaden McGowan, who actually went to Boston College, not South Carolina, and Will Shepard, who's out there with Coach Prime. They did what they had to do. They did what they felt like they needed to do, and, in their defense, Vandy was a mess at that point and had no direction, no identity, and no way to really be sure that they were going to be a factor in the game. I get that. I get why they left. I wish they would have waited a little bit longer, but then again, the way the portal hit and when Vandy made the moves, it just didn't line up. And, I think things may have been different had Vandy acted a little sooner maybe on that. I don't know. Only time will tell. They may have been gone. They may have made that decision in week 3. Who knows? But nonetheless, that's not the point. The point is the quarterback position. And in this scenario, you have with Diego Pavia, and if he ends up being in that position, this quarterback position in general is going to lift up those around it. And the system that these quarterbacks will be navigating through and playing in will naturally elevate the running backs behind them, the receivers out wide, the tight ends, the offensive line. It'll help everybody involved. And the quarterback position is going to be the main thing in that. So what Diego Pavia adds to that mix, like let's say you insert him as quarterback one, and we'll do the same for Nate Johnson. We'll also talk about the future guys and kind of who probably has the most potential out of that younger group of Berlowitz, St. Hilaire, and Muschamp. But, with Diego Pavia, obviously his knowledge of the system is, well, it's second to none. And the next closest guy is actually Berlowitz as far as knowing what Tim Beck wants to do and how he wants to run a system. But that pays huge dividends. Just that alone, I think, gives you that jolt of confidence that those guys will play harder. They'll run crisper routes. They'll know. Diego Pavia will be there to coach them up as far as, hey, you need to take your routes to this point and break here. I'm going to throw it to you right in this window. And those guys being in lockstep, that helps, right? 2 seasons ago when Vandy was playing well, they had some really good quarterback play. They were really in sync. The receivers and the quarterbacks were really in sync. Ken Seals especially, he was in sync with those guys, and you could tell that they had a connection. I think Diego Pavia brings that to the table now, and the toughness that he also brings to the table and the factor that he's going to be in the running game is something that Vandy hasn't really seen. I mean, they had it with Mike Wright, but like Mike Wright just didn't quite fit in as a passer. Maybe it was a scheme thing. Maybe it was a little bit of Mike Wright's own deficiencies as a quarterback. It was a combination of probably all of those factors. But, Pavia is a really good passer. He understands coverages. He understands where receivers need to be. He understands what Tim Beck wants him to do. And Tim Beck understands what Diego Pavia is good at. Diego Pavia is not going to be one that sits back in the pocket and launches deep balls and launches shots down the field. He's not going to be he's probably not going to be an RPO guy, not much of one at least. He's going to be a runner. He's going to be a powerful downhill runner. He's tough. Like he's going to get hit and he's going to get up and laugh in your face about it. He's going to pee on your logo at midfield during the practice session on road games. He's going to be that spark plug for that Vandy needs to give them that extra juice. I haven't seen Vandy have one of those type of guys, right? Not saying that peeing on somebody's logo is the right thing to do, but the mindset of like being bold enough to do something like that is the mindset you need from somebody on your team. Why not make it the quarterback? And so just the impact that position is going to have, the resurrection of that position is I think what's going to help this thing go. And Diego Pavia is a piece in that puzzle, obviously, but I think there's a good plan for whoever is quarterback one because, it's not just Diego Pavia's show. It's not guaranteed to get to be Diego Pavia's show. He's got to go and win the job, obviously. And he's going to have some tough competition, but like I said, what he can do is, what's going to be required for him to do and what he's going to showcase is his ability to lead, his ability to say, hey, guys, I'm going to put this thing on my back. Hey, offensive line, hey, if I get sacked, it's on me. Hey, offensive line, look, I got you. We're going to do this thing, all right? We're going to make it fun to block, and we're going to make it fun to play offensive line in this offense. And to have, like I said, to have a coordinator that gets all of that, I think it's good. You're going to have somebody that's free to check. You're going to have a coordinator that's going to put your guys into favorable situations, and you're going to have an offense that's going to flow. It's going to have some, and I hate this word. I really hate this word. I'm about to use it. I hate it, but I'm going to use it. Synergy. That's such a corporate buzzword. That's such a corporate buzzword. But they're going to have synergy. They're going to have chemistry. They're going to have guys that are excited to play their role, right? Are they going to have any superstars? As of right now, no. As of right now, that answer is no, because we just don't know. I don't know what Jeremiah Dillon can do. He has superstar potential. He has talent. He's a smooth, really good, fast downfield runner. But I don't know what's going to – I mean, we don't know. Loic Foungy? I don't know. He's a big target. He's got a wide catch radius. He's pretty good at running routes, and he was successful at Texas A&M, except for injury. If he can stay healthy, I think he'd be pretty good. Junior Sherrill, playmaker. I mean, towards the end of the season, I felt like I kept seeing him in the end zone. Not frequently enough, obviously, but I felt like he was making plays. Who's going to emerge? Like, who's going to be that guy? And I think the quarterback position is going to help unify that, and it's going to help solidify that. Okay, we have a really good receiver group. They're not superstars, but we have a group that does everything that needs to be done, all the gritty work, all the dirty work. So, Diego Pavia is just one piece of this puzzle. This quarterback room, I think, is so exciting, man. It just is. And no matter who it is, and this is not about Diego Pavia versus Nate Johnson. Not this episode. That'll be future episodes. But this episode is about how the quarterback situation can help Vandy win, and the fact that I think you finally have got some good leaders there, and whoever emerges will display that because they have to win the job. I think they're in good hands. So Nate Johnson is also another candidate. How does he impact it, right? Like, I haven't said anything about him yet. Well, I have in past episodes, but like, how is he going to impact the quarterback situation? What if he wins the job? Well, we're going to discuss that next. Stay locked. All right. We are brought to you by FanDuel. That is right. FanDuel. So you can get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. So bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets, live same game parlays, exclusive props, and more. So if you think Trae Young of my Atlanta Hawks is gonna start nailing some threes, well, go bet on it at FanDuel.com/lockedon. So again, visit that website. If you just missed that, it's FanDuel.com/lockedon and shoot your shot. FanDuel is the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. All right, welcome back. We are talking quarterbacks, everybody's favorite subject, quarterbacks, right? How is just the quarterback position at Vandy in general going to affect why I think, maybe crazy, maybe not. It's bold. I get it, but I believe it. But why is the quarterback situation important in this? What role does it play? Why is this situation good versus, like, we could have said this last year too? Why is it better? Well, we talked about Diego Pavia and how he fits into it and what characteristics he brings to the quarterback room and how that will elevate it. Now, let's pretend that Nate Johnson could win the job because, again, he very well could. He's got the entire spring to himself. We've discussed that already. We'll probably discuss that some more. But he's got the whole spring to himself pretty much. Him and Berlowitz have got the whole spring to themselves. So we'll see them kind of duke it out a little bit and compete. But, I think what he does, what he brings to the table, honestly, we'll talk about that here in just a second, but thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen. Thank you to the everydayers. Without you guys, none of this could be possible. I wouldn't be here talking about Nate Johnson if it wasn't for you everydayers. I probably would be gone if you guys weren't around. So thank you for supporting, continue to support, and let's build it, man. I think I've got 201 subscribers now. So yay, we're over 200. So visit us on Locked On Vandy on social media, X and Instagram right now. So keep it with it, man. We're rising fast too. So Nate Johnson, let me get back on track here. Nate Johnson, right? What's his impact, right? So I think you can kind of figure out what talent-wise what the juice that he'll bring from a talent perspective, right? So he had some limited action at Utah. There was a lot of factors involved, banged up. They just didn't really know what they wanted to do. They still wanted to redshirt him, I think. There were some things at play there at Utah, and I think that's ultimately why he transferred. But what Nate Johnson brings, if you watch that Florida game, he was inserted into the lineup. Man, it made an immediate impact because Florida did not know what to do with him. He was so fast, so quick, and so disciplined on his reads, right? Like he's a freshman quarterback, and he's out there against a against an SEC defense, which I know there's a whole lot of SEC bias, and yeah, other teams around the country are good. I get it. I understand. But it's a SEC defense. I don't know if you've seen those SEC defenses play. I mean, DBs are dime a dozen almost. Like, there's fast guys everywhere in the defensive backfields. Where the difference is the big guys. That's the difference in the SEC and everybody else. It's the big guys. And what he was able to do, like, defensive ends in this league, they can erase option quarterbacks. Why? Because what option quarterbacks do, the good ones, what they do is they ride that fake in there and force that guy to make a decision. Well, there's some guys that are going to go first round from this league, like Dallas Turner, who can ride the mesh down, who can actually make the decision for the quarterback and say, okay, pull it. I'm going to give you a pull read. And if you don't pull it, I'm going to go ahead and tackle your back for a loss. Well, what ends up happening is he gets that read, and that edge player, Dallas Turner, will put his cleats in the ground and redirect and come get you for a minimal gain, if any. So that's what edge players in this league can do. Nate Johnson erased that. And you want to talk about a jolt of confidence? That Utah team on that touchdown, they were a different team after that. They were kind of slogging a little bit back and forth in the beginning of that game, but when he hit that 27-yarder untouched and he left, I don't know who it was. I don't know Florida's roster that well. Pardon me. But he left that dude in the dust, man. He broke that dude's ankles and he went untouched. 27 yards, untouched. I don't know if you saw the life that was jolted into that Utah sideline when he did that. And the crowd was so jacked up, man. It was amazing. That's what Nate Johnson can do. From a leadership perspective, he gets those guys fired up. He is a playmaker. He gets the job done. He is a supreme talent. And if Diego Pavia never transferred, we probably wouldn't be talking about a quarterback battle. We would be talking about how Nate Johnson is the guy. And that was the absolute truth. Now Diego Pavia comes in. The only person I think that could beat out Nate Johnson in this scenario was the guy coming with Tim Beck. I don't know that Berlowitz, even though he knew the system, I'm not sure that he was good enough to beat out Nate Johnson talent-wise. I think he's a really good, solid backup, but I just don't think he was good enough necessarily to beat out Nate Johnson. Now, again, I've been wrong before, but that's my gut feeling on that. But so Nate Johnson has those leadership characteristics. He drove the team down to take the lead on the road against Baylor, doing different things from under center, moving the pocket, in the run game, in the quick pass game. Like he's a guy that I think is going to be better at RPOs. He's going to be better at running on the perimeter. He's very, very fast. He's like lightning in a bottle almost. And it's just, he's a problem, man. He's an absolute problem for defenses, that is. I'm not saying he's a problem like getting in trouble, but he's going to get a lot of defensive coordinators in trouble on the sideline because like he's somebody that can destroy angles. He's somebody that can burn you downfield. So if you got a guy like Jeremiah Dillon, he's going to hit him. And yeah, that's all fine and great. I'm not saying that's why he's going to or not going to win the job or whatever. I'm not talking about who's going to win the job. I'm talking about the impact that has on the rest of the team in the crowd. So he does some of that stuff, right? Let's say against Alabama, they're slogging back and forth. It's 7-7, right? Midway, a hair into the second quarter, right? Maybe like midway through the second quarter, right? Vandy gets the ball. They're driving a little bit. And all of a sudden, zone read, boom, Johnson, phew, like a freaking shot out of a cannon. You think that crowd's going to be jacked up? You think that sideline's going to be jacked up? There's a bunch of crimson uniforms running around going, what in the heck did I just see? Right? Not saying Vandy's going to beat Alabama, but what I'm saying is the confidence boost. Like those guys are going to play hard for him too, because like he does stuff like that. Pavia doesn't do stuff like that. Pavia is a leader. Pavia is a tough guy. Pavia is like kind of like what Tim Tebow was for Florida, like just kind of that emotional leader, just the guy that's going to get everybody fired up and to believe and, you know, play together. Nate Johnson does that just in a different way. Nate Johnson is more electric. He's somebody that could also get the crowd incited. That construction site, those rubbles in the end zones are going to be those steel beams over there in the end zones are going to be shaking. That bulldozers are going to be rocking. That place is going to be so raucous. That scoreboard's going to be swinging between the cranes. I mean, it's going to be all out pandemonium, man. When he's doing his thing, that dang ship horn, that Commodore horn thing that they hit when they score a touchdown, that thing's going to be broken because it's going to be played so many times. Like, the quarterback position has a chance to really impact this team because you have two guys right now, and I don't know about Berlowitz, I don't know about these two freshmen, but I imagine that they're very similar. But they have these guys have the ability to affect the team with their play, with their leadership, with their knowledge, and the trust that they're going to build. That no matter which one of these guys is in, I think Vandy is in really, really good shape to win 6. Nate Johnson's electric. Diego Pavia is tough. They're both highly effective in their own right. And Vandy is lucky to have gotten both of them in the transfer portal. I think this is, I mean, obviously they weren't going to get the top guys. They weren't going to get they weren't going to get Kyle McCord. Like that wasn't going to happen. But like, this is the best case scenario because you get a guy that understands, you get a guy in here that understands how these two play. And they recruited 2 guys that fit really well into the system. And they've got the quarterback room from New Mexico State. And then they've got a really electric, dynamic athlete in Nate Johnson. So we'll talk more about quarterbacks down the road. Like we're not done with the quarterback conversation at all. But I think this is a position group that can really, really have an impact on the rest of the team. They have to. If it's going to win, it's mandatory. But I don't think it's a stretch to say that they will. They'll have a positive impact. I'm excited to see it. No matter who it is, they will do great. So, baseball, man, the hitters. It was a launching pad. It was in Houston. Kind of ironic, right? They hit Rockets in Houston. Go figure. We'll talk about it here in just a minute. All right. Are you the kind of driver that likes to push things a little further? You ever wonder what adventure could be around the next corner? Our friends at Nissan have a lineup of SUVs with the capabilities to take your adventure to the next level. All right. The 2024 Nissan Rogue is perfect for city drives, and it's also perfect for great escapes. Class exclusive Google built-in is always your updating assistant to call on for almost anything. Gone are the days of connecting your phone. Google Assistant, Google Maps, and Google Play Store are built right into the 12.3-inch HD touchscreen infotainment system. I don't know if that's what you call this show, infotainment system. That's interesting terminology. I love that. I'm going to store that. All right, so the 2024 Rogue is a perfect midsize crossover for your next adventure. Nissan's incredible lineup also includes the 2024 Nissan Pathfinder and the 2024 Nissan Armada. Let's talk about the Armada. It will change what you expect from a full-size SUV. All you have to do is picture a rugged 4x4 that can seat up to 8 in first-class luxury and style. It tows bigger and explores further in the 2024 Armada. So take the Nissan Rogue, Nissan Pathfinder, or Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure. Shop NissanUSA.com. All right, welcome back. We are wrapping up the show here. Locked On Vandy. Thanks for making us your first listen. Make sure when you're done here in the next few minutes, click on Locked On SEC and check out Chris Gordy. He does a phenomenal job over there. Zach Blackerby's got his head's got to be spinning after I called my shot. Hopefully it's not spinning too bad. But go check out his show too. It's really good. And Locked On Ole Miss, of course. Stephen Willis. regardless of your feelings on Ole Miss. He does a great show. Even if you don't like Ole Miss, it's still good. You'll come away feel like you're an expert. So check out those shows. Check out much, much more on the Locked On Podcast Network. Whatever your team is, go check it out. If you have a pro team, MLB team, NHL team, whatever the case may be, go check them out. Anyway, so the Bats got going in Houston. It was a launching pad, pun intended, because rockets were being just launched into orbit in Houston all weekend long from Vandy. I felt like it was ping after ping after ping. I felt like everybody in the lineup got one. Even a guy that hadn't played in a long time got one, Polk. So I'm not here to like analyze box scores and like tell you, okay, this is why they won the game. They had great discipline. This guy went 1 for 4. Camden Kozel, speaking of which, before I really get into that, Camden Kozel, not Cameron Kozel. All right. So my mistake on that. Don't hold it against me. I'm terrible with names. For some reason, I got some severe dyslexia on that one. Just that one alone. But it's Camden Kozel, not Cameron Kozel. That's not it. Whoever Cameron Kozel is probably is also having a hell of a game. But he doesn't play for Vandy, or that person doesn't play for Vandy. It's Camden Kozel. So anyway, hitting, like, to not sound like it's completely, hey, Captain Obvious here, but like you ever notice why, like when you have really good pitching, but your hitting is in a slump, those pitchers all of a sudden aren't good anymore? You ever wonder why, if you have a pitcher that's just got like an ERA that looks like a yearly salary for a CEO? Well, like, there's a connection there, right? So the connection is this, and this is probably why Vandy won 3, swept in Houston and not really like maybe once in dramatic fashion, but why they were able to come back from an 11-3 deficit. But, when you're hitting well, I think you can get yourself out of some jams pitching wise, because I think there's a whole psychology behind it. And I think when pitchers know that the bats are working, whether they're working immediately or not, but when they know that like these guys have been hot and they're just kind of biding their time, they're just kind of slogging through and waiting to get their pitch, or waiting for that one opportunity, and I know we're going to get it. Like, that's a different mindset when you take the mound like that. And I'm going to run out of time here, but when you take the mound knowing that, hey, if I go up here and just throw strikes, I don't have to overthrow. I don't have to try to knock the catcher over. I don't have to try to break his glove. I don't have to try to strike everybody out throwing 100 miles an hour every time. Like, I can just place this ball right here. If he hits it, great. If he doesn't, if he strikes out, that's even better. Like, you go up there with like this confidence, and it's almost like you just work yourself into a groove. Like, Vandy's bullpen had been struggling, right? And even in the closer games, the bullpen comes in and just kind of shuts the door on any sort of rally, and either allows Vandy to push ahead, like they know that they're going to be able to, like when the starters are struggling a little bit, or the bats will kind of pick them up. Like, let's say a reliever has a tough inning. Well, if the bats are hot and they have good plate discipline and they have a good approach, and they're going up there with a plan, like, these pitchers know that, like, hey, they're gonna, like, they got my back, so I don't need to worry about like trying to win the game on this next pitch because I struggled last inning. I can just go out and just do my thing, try to find the zone, try to find my groove, and just go out there and throw. Like Sawyer Hawks, man, he benefited tremendously from good hitting because he got a confidence boost. And then once he's had some positive innings, he got a little bit of natural confidence boost on his own. So it's a whole psychology trick, and it's very interesting how that works, because like when your guys are there, like when like as a pitcher, like, hey man, I can kind of get a little bit more aggressive here because I know Camden Kozel is coming up next inning. I know we've got Kozel. I know we've got Vastine, Kozel, and RJ Austin, right? I know we got those guys coming up. So I'm gonna get after these hitters. I'm gonna be aggressive here, right? And I'm gonna come after them. Or hey, we're not hitting quite as well, but I know we'll kind of come out of it because we've been hitting well recently. So I'm gonna dial it back a little bit. I'm gonna just try to get these guys out any way I can, and we'll give our guys a chance. So it's something that's it's awesome to see. Like, it's awesome to kind of see that transition of like confidence and like struggling and pressing. Like you see that switch being flipped. That switch was flipped against Indiana State, and that switch has been on all weekend. And you can see, like, especially the bullpen guys, they needed that. They needed that juice. The starters, to a certain degree, but it's baseball. They're going to get beat up every once in a while. They're starters. They throw a lot of innings. When you throw a lot of innings, you're bound to have tough innings. So anyway, but I just thought that was an interesting thing about baseball, interesting thing about this team, kind of like the mindset shift that they've gone through. At this point in the season, getting ready for conference play is a huge jolt in the right direction. So we'll look to see that continue as this season wears on, and as it kind of presses on. Actually, it presses on tonight against Eastern Michigan. Or actually this afternoon. So you'll see it. But anyway, and then weekend series against Illinois State. So, but that's going to do it for us. I know I've kind of run over a little bit on that, but we are the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for listening, and make sure you follow us on social media. Make sure you like us and subscribe on YouTube and anywhere you get your podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for joining us. Hope you stick around. And as always, until next time, anchored down.